Okay, guys, Brad Wharton here for Cage Warriors, ahead of Cage Warriors 196, coming your way on Saturday, November 15th from the Indigo at the O2. A huge fight on the main card between these two gentlemen, Torpal Merjoev and Jordan Vucenic. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. And Jordan, I'm going to start with you. Um, Obviously, it's been a while since we've seen you in the famous yellow gloves. Just tell us quickly about how this all came about and your decision to come back to Cage Warriors. I know there was sort of whispers of it for a couple of months now. How does it feel to have it all locked off and boxed off and something to aim for?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like you said, having something to aim for again, it's just been a lot of sitting on the sidelines, just waiting out. So I'm happy to get back in and happy to have a great opponent to share my experience back with. So yeah, I'm buzzing to go.
And it had to be London, right?
Had to be London. Of course, it had to be London.
Torp, I'll just bring this to you then. Obviously, you're fighting a guy who, to the Cage Warriors fans is considered a Cage Warriors legend. How does that feel to be going up against a guy like Jordan so early in your career?
For me, it's a good feeling. I always want to test myself against the best guys, and Jordan is a really good fighter. So I'm just happy to get the chance to test myself against that level. I'm uh, I'm used to not being the favorite because it's not legal in Norway to fight. So I've always been the underdog, and I like it that way.
You say you're used to being the underdog, and I suppose thinking back to your Cage Warriors debut against Teddy Stringer, a lot of people saw you as the underdog in that fight. Teddy had a very good first round, and then obviously you
Yeah.
had that crazy submission finish. Just talk to us a little bit about how you felt going into that fight, and then how it felt to get the finish against a guy like Teddy.
Going into the fight, I was a little bit nervous because I was coming back from an injury, so I had a little break. So I felt the pressure, and I wasn't in the right place mentally when I started the first round. So I gave it up pretty easily. But as I got farther into the fight, I became myself again, and I became more composed, and then I was able to perform like I wanted to do. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting the submission finish against Teddy, but everything can happen in a fight. So I was surprised myself, but not too surprised.
There was a great video on social media afterwards that showed your corner team celebrating when you got the win. How did it feel to watch that back?
It felt funny, I heard someone screaming when I was fighting, but I didn't know who it was. But it turned out to be my coach. It's this guy right here. So it feels good always to get home with a victory and to make your coaches happy.
Excellent. And Jordan, going back to you, obviously that was Torpal's first and only fight so far in Cage Warriors. Have you had a chance to watch much tape on this guy? What's your assessment? How do you feel stylistically you're going to match up against this guy?
Yeah, I've watched a few fights of him now. I watched the Teddy fight live, and yeah, like he said, shocked everybody with a finish in the second round. So look, he's a good opponent. And the thing is for him, this is a win-win situation for him, because if he goes out there and he beats me, everyone's going to be like, "Oh, who's this new kid on the block?" Blah blah blah. And then sort of same thing. If I win, it's going to be, maybe it was a bit too much too soon for this guy. So I know this guy's going to be young and hungry, and he's going to want it. You know what I mean? So I have to be super switched on. And look, you're only as good as your last fight, and my last fight wasn't that good. So yeah, I've got to come into this like all guns blazing. I've got to come into this and really put a stamp on it.
Do you feel that pressure if you say you're approaching this as you're only as good as your last fight? Do you feel that this, it's not necessarily just about getting a win here, it's about putting on a performance to remind people what you're capable of?
No, I don't feel like that at all. I just feel like not even sort of been there, done that. My first fight, obviously in the UFC, was short notice. My second one, I just wasn't myself. So I just need to go back in there and prove to everybody what I know to be true, what my coaches know to be true. And like I said, what an opponent I've got to do it against. Young, hungry, undefeated, coming off of his biggest win of his career last fight. So yeah, this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, you've got a lot of nice things to say about Torpal there. He is being talked about as a huge prospect coming up in the division. But as as a young guy who's not had that many high-level fights yet, do you feel that this is a significant risk for you, Jordan?
Look, I'm on a 2 fight skid, so how's it a risk for me? Do you know what I mean? It's just I'm just another guy. I'm just another guy that wants to fight, that wants to be one of the best in the world. So and this is the same, this guy could be the next big thing. You never know. So let's get it. Let's get it. I'm excited.
Torpal, Jordan's got a lot of nice things to say about you there. It must be nice to hear that from a guy who's been at a high level in the sport for so long. What does it feel like for you to hear those compliments? And how does it feel taking this big step up in opposition against Jordan?
Well, of course, it feels good. I get happy when because he's a high level guy. I watched him a lot even before he got into the UFC. When he fought against Paul Hughes, the first fight, and it's a good feeling when someone you've watched for a long time, you get the opportunity to fight them. So yeah, and it's a big step up for me. So I feel good about it. Only good feelings about it.
It's a huge opportunity. Obviously, Jordan's biggest fights all happened in this venue. Some legendary moments, and he's a guy, someone who's held a Cage Warriors title before, someone who's fought in the UFC. Obviously, you're not going to look past Jordan, but what do you think a win here does for you? Do you think if you can beat a guy like Jordan, is the title fight around the corner for you?
Yeah, I believe that if I win this fight, I definitely need a title fight after this. But to be honest, I don't look past Jordan. After this fight, then I will see what's the next step. But right now, all my focus is on this fight.
And Jordan, I guess a similar question for you. Do you have one eye on UFC London next year? Do you have one eye on the Cage Warriors title? What's the future for the Epidemic looking like?
Look, champ sounds nice to me, and then get back to the UFC. That's my main goal anyway. My main goal is to get back to the UFC. No disrespect to Torpal or to any of my opponents, but I'm tunnel vision to get back to that UFC, and I suppose that's how he should be. That's how anybody should be wanting to be the best in the world. You should be tunnel vision. But like Torpal said, I've got to get past this one. I'm going to take it a fight at a time. Like I said earlier, judge me off of my last fight. You're only as good as your last fight. So look, let's try and make this one the next best one.
Jordan, we've seen some incredible fights and some incredible moments from you at the Indigo before. What's your final message to fans who are thinking about buying a ticket, who are thinking about tuning in on UFC Fight Pass? What's your final message to them, and what's your final message to your opponent?
Message to the fans, as always, I'm going to put on a show. I really am. I think me and Torpal, we're going to put on a really great fight, and you're going to get your money's worth. Even if you only come just for this one fight, it's going to be a banger, I'm telling you. And my message to Torpal, thank you for taking it, because it's hard to get me matched against anybody in Europe. Even when I come back to the Cage Warriors, they said it's going to be hard to match you with anybody in Europe, but they've done it, and Torpal's the man that stepped up and do it. So, look, let's get it cracking. 15th of November, let's get it cracking.
Torpal, Jordan's obviously looking forward to this. What's your final message to Jordan, and what's your final message to your fans who'll be tuning in on UFC Fight Pass, or maybe even coming over to London to see you fight?
Just be ready for a good fight as always, and it's me against Jordan. Of course, it will be a good fight. Tune in, and good luck to Jordan. I hope the training goes well, and we'll see you in November.
Oh, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Jordan Vucenic, Torpal Merjoev, one of the biggest fights of the year on Cage Warriors, and it's coming your way. Cage Warriors 196, Saturday, November 15th. CageWarriors.com for tickets. And of course, if you're not with us in London, you can watch us all around the world on UFC Fight Pass. We'll see you there.